You're such an asshole.
So I was sitting in the shower, as I'm prone to do on a daily basis. And I'm not, no joke, my girlfriend, loving girlfriend, even got me a notepad, like a waterproof notepad with a waterproof pencil, just suction cup right up there. Because what would happen in the past is I'd be in the shower, which I don't know about you guys, but the shower and the toilet where you're sitting down, there's literally nothing else you can do. All of a sudden your mind wanders. I'd come up with a brilliant idea for a book. So I'd hop out of the shower all wet and dragging water, buck naked, water dropping off my peen, and just this naked man coming out of the shower, writing down water on the kitchen, taking my notes on the kitchen island. And it did. When you have the idea, write it down. Don't think, oh, I'll wake up tomorrow. No, have that notepad right next to you. I got a notepad in the shower. Some other people have notepads by the bed. And I had one such epiphany. Don't know why I didn't pick up on it before, because I'm an economic mind. And I was thinking about specifically government spending as a percentage of GDP. It's just what normal people do in the shower. And it dawned on me, old numbers I've known for a long time, but let's just go over some basic stuff here. And for those of you not economically minded, I'll translate it in English for you. So you have GDP, gross domestic product. That doesn't mean anything. Let me explain to you what it really means. That's what every American makes in total. That's our total income, total salary. That's what every American makes. The poorest of the poor, the richest of the rich. We add it all up. That's how much money we made. And this allows for you to analyze taxation levels very efficiently or easily at a national level. You say, okay, well, what's government spending as a percentage of GDP? And then you know what your tax rate is. Notwithstanding government borrowing, deficit spending, and inflation, but I'm not going to complicate the concept with that. So I do know the technicality. And ever since we had the welfare state, government spending as a percentage of GDP, it's gone up and down depending on whether we've had wars and depending on how lazy Americans have been. Above 30%, certainly, pushing 40, 41, 42%, I even believe, during the disease, when it's like, oh my God, a really, really bad cold. Let's just give everybody stimmy checks. That was Trump, by the way, for those Republicans who forgot who started that ball rolling. But now that the crisis is over, we're, last I checked, around 36, 37%. So let's just say generally one third. One third of your money goes to the state, federal, and local governments. All right. And that includes everything. But my tax rate isn't that high. I'm not talking about your income tax rate. There's a lot more taxes out there. You take the totality, all the revenue sources for all the governments, state, federal, and local. You add them all up. You basically, the average American spends a little more. 1 in every 3 of your dollars goes to all the governments. And you think you're being clever because you're poor and you don't pay a high income tax and you pay sales tax and capital gains and property tax, all these other kind of taxes that are hidden. You pay a fee when you go and get your driver's license, so there's taxes all over. You add it all up, we all pay 1 in every $3 to the almighty government because it's worked so well. And then if you were to take a look at the state, federal, and local budgets, which I have, and you find out quite tragically, depending on the state, but certainly at the federal level, 2/3 of the spending goes to other people, which I qualify as welfare. All right. And because you didn't do anything for me. You just took, I gave the government 1/3 of my money. 2/3 of that is now spent giving it to other people who don't give me anything in exchange. Now you can say, well, that's welfare, that's Social Security, Veterans Administration, which includes pensions for military personnel. Some of these things you may want. It's not the classical definition of welfare, but I'm using an economic definition of welfare. Outright welfare, WIC, EBT, TAMF, all of it. Oh, I have a touch of the social anxieties, give me disability, all of it. All right. And so if you do the math, actually, I got to do the math here. Let me make sure I do the math. It is 38% of GDP times 0.67, 2/3, roughly speaking. So 25%. 1 in every 4 of your dollars goes to pay for the welfare state. My broad definition of it, admittedly. But I don't care if you're a trailer trash single mom or if you were a military veteran. Although obviously I'd be more prone to give money to the military veteran in form of that. Oh, I got a paper cut. I'm 90% disabled. Give me $3,500 a month. Thank you. Now I'm going to go run a marathon. For those of you who have friends in the military, you'll know what I'm talking about. All right, so 1 in every 4 of your dollars goes to the welfare state. Now, there's a lot of people at this trough, admittedly, and you can look it up. Social Security, old people, obviously, but a disproportionate percent of that money goes to basically other people's kids. Now, the conduit generally, not always, generally is the single mom because women get possession of the kids or cuss. I like possession more. It sounds like a football game. They got possession. How far are they down to the field? She's within field goal range. They get possession of the kid. I know there's some fathers that get possession of the. I know. There's a tall Asian. I know. Just hear me out. And I don't have kids. I never want to have kids. And if you really want to be technical about it, even though it wouldn't fall under welfare, me paying for the public schools with the properties I've owned, paying property, that's welfare. So we could argue maybe it's a little bit more. In any case, the point is, you, me, and everyone else, we pay for a lot of people's families that aren't ours. I'm paying for a lot of women's children, the women I didn't get to have sex with, for kids that ain't mine. Oh, and I'm sure she gets some money too to live in there. So all of us, whether you realize it or not, are paying for other people's families. A quarter, not all that quarter, but 1 in every $4 does go to the welfare state. A significant part of that 1 in $4 goes to raise other people who basically failed as parents and can't raise their own children. You and me and everyone else are paying for other people's families. Period. To what degree we can argue. And then it dawned on me, like, I've never wanted kids. I'm not a materialist. I don't like the fact I got to pay for parasites, and that's what you are. If you can't survive on your own, you're a parasite. You got to live off of somebody. I don't make up the definitions of words. I don't like it, but I'm not going to let it ruin my life. I'm still going to have a great life. I found out no matter how much money, matter of fact, the more money you throw at a problem, it just enables people's bad decisions, so you never solve a problem. So I enjoy seeing the welfare class just fail in spite of trillions of dollars being received. Like, okay, yeah, this is it's almost a movie to watch, frankly. But then I started thinking, well, I'm supporting a family, and I never wanted it. One of the reasons I never want to have kids, aside from I didn't want them, is like I at the time for most of my life, I would never be able to afford them. I'd have to like starve. And so if women ever came up to me while I was dating and we were dating, like, "What do you want to have kids?" No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, I don't know if we can date. Yeah, you're right. We can't because you want to go have kids. But then it dawned on me that generally speaking, and don't give me the tall Asian argument. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I know a tall Asian. Women disproportionately vote for the welfare state. Women disproportionately vote Democrat or socialist, depending on what country you're in. And they've even showed like every state would go blue if only women voted. And there's arguments for that. Women prefer security over freedom. It benefits women to have a welfare state disproportionately under the lens of the law, especially family court, where you get possession of the kids, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever the reason, women will vote for the welfare state disproportionately. Not saying there aren't male Democrats, there are, but disproportionately women vote for it. And especially younger women, obviously, because younger people are stupid, boys included. They're free. Why don't we print off more money? Dun, dun, dun. It's like, wow, you got a master's degree in sociology. Christ. But then I find I'm sitting in the shower. I'm like, wait, some of these gals, at least on paper, they also want to have a family. And I was sitting there thinking, like, well, wait a minute. You want a welfare state, which, by the way, disproportionately paid for by men. Go look it up. I know there's a tall Asian you met one time. I know you know a single mom who's an engineer. I know. But generally speaking, men pay the majority of taxes. If you're looking at particularly young men, the millennial and certainly Zoomer generations of which have been beleaguered by high costs of living, high rent. You girls won't date a guy unless he's got his triple doctorate. He's got to make this much money. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that is a tall hurdle to jump to meet your girl's expectations. And it's even made more so difficult to meet your expectations for a father, for a husband with this 33% tax load. So I did some quick math naked in the shower. I'm like, all right, here's a kid, young man. You girls want to get married just on paper. I know not always. I know this is a tall Asian. You girls want to get married. You want to marry a guy generally in your age range. Okay, so younger guys, some guy under 40. One in every $3 of his money is going to go to the governments, plural. Interestingly enough, if you want to know, only 10% of the money that he pays, 10% of all state, federal, local budgets actually goes to governance. You know, like roads, cops, military, judicial system, regulatory agencies. If you want to know our tax rate, the lowest possible tax rate would be 10%, because that's what you need to actually run the government agencies. And, the majority, but the rest of it goes to pay disproportionately, not always, disproportionately goes to pay for other people's kids. So these guys already are, in some way, they already got a family. They're already supporting it, which is already taxing literally and figuratively on their finances. And it would be one thing if girls would say, well, I'm going to come in and I'm independent. I'm going to bring my own income and we're as a team going to raise a family. But you don't. You don't. You got 2023 like expectations and you have 2023 standards, but you still got 1950s expectations. Because when you look at the polling data and survey and you interview gals, you all want the guy to make money, more money than you. And you all now, of course, they highlight the ones where you got these truly delusional, moronic girls. Well, he's got to make at least six figures. Like, ha, 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 the dumb broad doesn't know that that's like 15% of the male population. But generally, I've seen it all ages where even gals my age, it's very fascinating watching Gen X women become elderly, where they don't have enough money saved up for retirement. They've always needed some kind of male to come in and not really bail them out, but support them. Like mom and dad to come in and help with the house. They get husband number 3 after literally taking half the guy's assets twice before. No one's got enough money saved up for retirement, though that is a criticism you could lay equally across both genders. Men are a little bit better off, but not by much. And so despite the pounding of the table that we're strong and independent, don't need no, yet you still want a family, but then you still have the financial requirement that the guy in 1950s requirements would be able to support a family. And I'm like, that's not congruent. That's not possible. That is no longer possible when you force through voting, through democracy, but ultimately those are the rules that are implemented because we are a democracy. Now, by the force of law, meaning at the end of a gun, cops will come and pick you up if you don't pay your taxes. You are burdening men, your generation of men, with a 33% tax rate. And if they make more, now the income tax does kick in. Sometimes it's 40%. I know Rich Cooper. He pays over 50% of his income in a now Canadian government, provincial, state, or provincial, national, and local. But now these guys, not only do you vote for them to raise essentially other people's family, now you want to say, and now you get to pay for our family too. And I'm saying, ladies, they don't make that much money. They don't. They just don't. And whereas, again, the tall Asian argument here in the United States, 320 million people, all right, there is the occasional instance where it's like, okay, you find the $250,000 a year man and he votes Democrat and you guys all shop at the patchouli shop in Whole Foods. All right. You found the perfect Democrat man and he makes more money than you, but you still have your strong independent job at whatever joke of a Marxist leftist make work government job you got. He is allowing, he allows you to have the nuclear family, the June Award Cleaver dream, but you're strong, independent, whatever. All right. But that's a distinct minority, a very distinct, just on the income alone. I think depending on age, you want a guy who makes 100,000. I think it's the top 16%. There's not that many men that make it. And depending on where you live, he might have to make more. I mean, 100,000 ain't going to get you anywhere. And, like socialist utopias like, New York, California, it's just not enough money. So I will admit, yeah, okay, there's men out there who make enough money to pay the taxes to support the welfare state you voted in and your own little private home, your own little private family, but not the majority of men. And in voting for this welfare state, the majority of you women have eliminated the majority of men in terms of being able to financially support your family. And whether you accept it or not, or realize it or not, you can reverse rationalize. I'm making, and I'll be perfectly honest with the majority of the ladies, I don't do these videos for you. I do these for guys because they're going to take agency. They're going to realize, and I also do it for intellectual purposes. I'm not expecting Democrat women to sit down, look at the budget, look up GDP, do some number cuts. Like, hey, do you know something? Like, yeah, they can't afford to have 60% of their income removed and then save for retirement and then pay for the cars and then pay for my student loans and then eat. It's kind of interesting if you look at when an average Joe gets divorced, he's wiped out. Like he's living at his brother's place because he's got to pay for the welfare state y'all voted in. Then he's got to pay alimony and child support, which you should. It's the kids, maybe not alimony, but child support. And it kind of shows you that, wow, 2/3 of this guy's income is just taken away. And this is nothing about whether he has student loan debt, he's got a car loan, maybe he wants to eat, maybe he'd like to save up money for a house. And whereas in the past, well, anyway, so and I don't expect you girls to sit down, do the math, have an epiphany, be empirical, say, hey, yeah, you're right. We've literally put a majority of men, I'd estimate about 70, 75 to 3/4 of men in an impossible financial situation where we're going to demand that they pay for a welfare state so I can feel good about myself. And then I'm also going to demand, even though I don't need it because strong, independent, but I'm not going to settle for a guy unless he can actually support a family a la the 1950s. And so I don't think you're going to accept, but that's what's happening. And you could still, as I've made an accommodation, I've accounted for the statistically unlikely, but it does happen where there is a guy who makes enough money to finance other people's families and your own. And there is that, what's it called? There is that reality that does happen. A lot of you are now going to point to, well, but we raise our child. Well, I know a family, the woman works too. Yes, you're right, but it's a bastardized version. It is not ultimately what most women want. And I've seen it. I'm of the age where, I'm going to college or high school graduations. People my age of having kids now, they're going to graduate. I know very few where they're living on one income and the dad solely provides for it. I don't know any families that don't have financial, I wouldn't say problems, although problems certainly in some instances too, but finances are tight. Nobody saved up enough money for retirement. There's stress. And this comes with, okay, the guy's working. Ladies, you work too. Both of you are taxed. I know one family in particular where the wife got a real good bump in pay. And now they're shocked they don't qualify for all these child credits and welfare programs. What do you mean? Like, yeah, you voted for it, right? This welfare state? Remember when you knew everything at 18? You couldn't wait to vote. More welfare, socialism. I know so much. I'm a 19-year-old girl. You made it like literally your core value. Not like family or religion or God or work or science or no, it was you. You're going to help out the poor people. Like that's your core value. Well, you voted for it. Now you get to pay for it. Always love it when Democrats make a lot of money for the first time, especially if they're self-employed and don't know to make the estimated taxes. Then they become Republican. I need help because I'm, financing. What do I do? I'm like, you pay your taxes, you son of a bitch. You vote for it. What do you mean? You didn't think it was going to apply to you? Anyway, it is a fact that if you now need two incomes, there ain't nobody parenting the kids. I don't want to hear what tag team bullshit you do. I don't want to hear it. I know very few families that have pulled that off, and it is by the mercy of God and the internet that people can now work from home in some cases, which has been a godsend. And maybe that's done more to help out than any kind of government program. Like, well, we got to do free daycare. That's not their parents. But regardless, it is a bastardized version of this idyllic, traditional 1950s family. Some of you secretly may want. I know you don't want to just be in the kitchen making I know, but you're not going to have this where, okay, you're actually taking care of the kids. The family is always bastardized. It's always impaired. The kids are being raised by someone else, typically a stranger. They can't wait to get the kid off to preschool so they don't have to raise the kids. You wonder why your kids grow up with the his and the social anxieties and all this other stuff. And you're all run ragged because you're basically being burdened by a parasite that takes one out of every three of your dollars that you girls vote for. It's like having someone live in your house that ain't your family. You got to feed them and clothe them and shelter them and deal with them. And then, I would never expect, like, yeah, you're right. It's been really hard paying for other people that isn't my family. I wish it's only after 8 bottles of wine and in the deepest of darkest of closets does women actually like, I just want to raise my children and be a stay-at-home mom. Well, too bad. You voted for this tax. You voted for a welfare state. You voted to basically enslave you and any future husband you might have to be 1/3, well, not 1/3, 1/4 slaves to the welfare class. And now you don't get to have a family, not in the traditional stable sense that you may have dreamed about or desired. And so I'm simply pointing out, ladies, you get a choice. You get a choice. You get one family. It's either the welfare class family that you vote or it's your own family, which means you're going to have to give up your socialist, leftist, Democrat politics. But you cannot have both. At best, well, okay, outside of the truly rich man that you happen to find, and you only read about him in Harlequin romance books or movies. Outside of that, the best you can hope for is the less than bastardized version where you're stressed out. You have to work. You have to. You have to pay the taxes because the guy can't float it. Or, okay, well, let me go into consequential scenarios down the road later where you're both working, you're both commuting, there's not enough time, your children are being neglected. That's the best, most accurate word. Not completely, not maliciously, not consciously, but they're being neglected because you think that rando daycare workers are a substitute for actual parents. All right, I don't care. But you're not getting the stable where the man and whatever dream you may have wanted, like, well, if you're viewing men as status symbols, like he makes more money than he's an investment, but it's no. Because here's another thing. Well, let's talk about the other scenario then, and then I'll talk about modern men and how they're reacting to this information. And this is assuming you stay married, which in 50% of the cases, you all get divorced. Or even if you're cohabitating, it's the same divorce rate. It's 45%, which now throws you into single mom territory, which I don't think any woman envies. And now you get to collect the welfare, get some kind of, you got to go to law and court. Yes. All right. You have gone from now neglecting your kids, shipping them off to daycare, to abuse. Divorce is abuse. You are a child abuser. Terribly sorry. Not malicious. I know. The other spouse, man or wife, doesn't matter, could be very bad for the kids. And you had to. I get it. It's still abuse. You still failed as parents. Now you're in this wonderful world. Like, these are your best options. Eh, well, this is a great and the entire time, no matter how much government money you get, there's still gonna be a third take. Oh, I'm sorry. 25% of your money is gonna be taken away and given to some other family because you want I don't know what you want to be popular. You thought life was simple as more government money to help the poor? Or is that what you thought? Your core values that you vote Democrat or whatever, you're a feminist, environmentalist. That's like more important than you. I don't know, being a loving mother and wife. Good thing, sister. You strong, independent. You have your MBA. Meanwhile, your kid's like doped up on Ritalin and contemplating self deletion. Great job. Great job. So that's what you traded in. That's it. You can't what is it? You can't serve two masters. You can't have two families. You just can't. But it's all right. I don't care. I sit here with my popcorn because I ain't have no kids. I had a vasectomy come up on 20 years ago. I want nothing to do with this nightmare. Oh, my favorite now is the public schools are starting to view your kids as government assets. They're not yours. They're the government's. Teachers actually say these are not your kids. And then various things, which I'm not going to go into now, because let's be honest, you use schools as daycare because you love your careers and your SUVs. And this goes for the men too, in some cases. You love your things and your stuff, your McMansion more than you love your kids. Like, oh my God, can you believe what they're teaching the kids? Are you going to homeschool them? Whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, I don't love my kids that much. I need my Mercedes. What, give up the heated seats? Well, are you crazy? But now, for the younger people, let's talk about this. Boys aren't still. Let's talk about the boy. Have you heard about these things? These people called men. Apparently, they got standards or something. Apparently, they have minds of their own. Two huge things, as bright as the sun in the sky, cannot be denied. It's not like men haven't been paying attention for 40, 50 years now. Two big bulbs in the sky men have picked up on, young men, boys. Divorce, because half the boys, half the men alive today, their parents have been divorced. I'm like, hell with that. They know friends. Some of them have been divorced themselves because they didn't learn. Apparently, seeing their old man, their uncle, their grandfather, and their best friend all get divorced, they didn't pick up on they didn't get the memo. All right, so guys are a little bit, and then they look at the tax rates. Not that they're sitting there and studying. They're saying, all right, hang on. So you're telling me that to get the jobs, not even the girls, to get the jobs, I got to go to school from 5 until I'm 22, preferably 24 to get a master's so Karen in HR can meet her bachelor's required, master's preferred. And then it's entry level, and I can't even afford a house. I'm not going to explain inflation and why we all voted to print off more money. I'm like, oh, it's a Scooby-Doo mystery. Why housing's so expensive? And I'm like, I got to do all this? So already they're like, no. And then the other bulb in the sky, the big bright sun in the sky, has been the internet. Whereas in the olden days, we couldn't look things up. You had to go with microfiche and all. Now you got people front and center. All these guys say, hey, here's what's happening with divorce. Here's what's happening. Look at the polling data. Here's what women's expectations are for dating. Here's what happens if you get divorced. Oh, here's how much you need in education required. Men could see it. Men are alive. And young men today are much more informed, 100 times more accurately informed about what is required of them in terms of finances, money, investment, and all that, not only to make a living, but to attract you girls. So now they got to go. You just got to go to college, although me and many other men have been saying, F that, go to the trades. We'll tell for you girls too, but you don't want to hear that. I want to major in journalism because I'm passionate. You know what also goes with passionate, starts with a P? Poor. That's what starts with P. It goes with passionate. The cat's out of the bag. I'm actually kind of surprised. And when I was young, okay, the girls had the magazines and whatever secret things they said on Cosmo or Teen or Vogue or whatever. We didn't care. But now it's for everyone to see. You could go online now where girls are crying about their dating lives, like, that's the worst that happened to you? Where you see, like, he better this, he better that, and I'm the table, blah, blah, blah. You guys look at this, say, they can do the calculus. They can do the cost benefit analysis. And they know that what? The goal was to get married and have kids and have a 50% chance of a divorce and be ruined? And I gotta go to school in college for anywhere between 4, preferably 6, ideally 8 years, have half my money taken away, and and you girls keep voting to take the money away to raise other people's bastard kid, and it's a Scooby-Doo mystery why you can't find a man? You're confused why you got these soy boy millennials named Jaden or Yaden or Hayden or Jasper or Tanner or anything else ending with an EN or an ER while they're sitting there playing video games, living at home. And it's too, I'll be right now, I'll just be honest, for I guess any girl above the age of 25, it's too late for your generation to find a real man. It's just there's the numbers. I know I'm very harsh and I pick on the very low percentage of women that are marriage material, but it's not like boys are anything better. I was reviewing Thor's book is talking about masculinity and all that. And I look at Thor, here's the guy who can build his own house, drill his own well, set up his own solar panels, wire his own house, fix his own cars. That's unheard of any young man under 30 or under 25 even. And what's going to end up happening? You don't even have men entering high-paying you don't even have men entering work. Where are you going to get the money to pay for this welfare state you want? That's another, but that's a different. That's supply side economics. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. but but if you wanted to have a guy, you want to have your man. I'm sorry, there are consequences for here in the United States voting Democrat or Labor in the UK or whatever variant form of socialism. You cannot vote to enslave the population to pay for other people's families that are not theirs, then traditionally still require men to work up the money to finance their own family. Because the men they'll just go on strike, and they have. It's essentially what it is. Go look at the labor force participation rate. Go look at how regularly, look at the number of hours men work. They're just tapping out. Because then, frankly, you want to be a slave for 2/3 of their life with no guarantee, with a 50% chance the family ends. And all these boys aren't, actuaries or statisticians, but there's the two big bulbs in the sky are like, I ain't going to do that. Nope. And then in a tragic irony, this is one I love the best. You girls, that welfare state you vote for doesn't all go to single moms with kids. It goes to Yaden and Jaden and Hayden and Baden and Betta and Tanner for their disability check. Oh my goodness, I have a touch of the social anxieties and the and the autism and the Asperger's. I can't work. And your girl's like, oh my God, I'll vote to take those other men's money. Here's so much money. Here's money, 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 money. We need more free money and housing. We need to help the mentally ill, man. Here's all these 24-year-old boys living at home, but would be perfectly fine otherwise. Oh, yeah, I can't. He's really good at video games. He's level 312 on Swords and Sluts or whatever the hell the latest video game is out there. He's really good at that. He can find any porn on the internet. He can't find a job application, and why would he? You girls vote to make it that you even remove starvation as a threat to get these men off their asses to transform themselves from unmarriageable boys to self-supporting independent men that you want. Yeah. But I'm popular, and I know so much as a 21-year-old girl. I almost have a degree in socialism. Where are all the men? Oh, here's some free money. Don't work. Why aren't they working? And there I am with my popcorn. Oh, this is going to be a great story. I can't wait. I can't wait. Now, I know, to be perfectly blunt, most people under 40, I guess we could say under 50, I'm definitely under 40. You have been conditioned and brainwashed to believe that your politics is the most important thing about you. It's not family. It's not love. It's not even your own old traditional religions. For women in particular, your new religion is feminism for many of you, or environmentalism, or whatever. But it all falls under the purview and domain of leftist socialist politics. It's a lot of your lives. Like, I mean, really, how many of you have it on your dating profile? Right? And because it's so ensconced, and because I mean, what else have you? Honestly, let's be honest. Do you have anything else to live for? The modern young American woman today don't need no man. It's your career and it's your politics, right? Though, and feminism being perhaps the most common variant of it. That's the most important thing to you. So you're not going to give that up, right? You're just not. It's too important to you, which is fine. I mean, I'm not criticizing that decision. I'm saying though, pointing out that if you want that, not all of you, but most of you are not going to get a husband. You are not going to have a family, at least a functional one. And for some of you, maybe that's fine. Maybe you love it where the kids are outsourced to the state. Maybe you like it that the teachers teach your kids like, oh yeah, maybe you should cut your tits off at 15. I don't know. Maybe you want your young children to like think the most important thing is how they were born, whether that's a race or a gender or a trait or a sexual preference, which I think is incredibly sad and pathetic because it speaks nothing to the individual and their mind and who they actually are. But that's okay. It's not my kid. It's not. But if you want that, you want that. If your politics say you're not going to get the strong, sexy 6 foot surgeon who makes 250,000. I mean, they're out there. Some of you are going to win the lottery. I mean, there are rich men, but they're not in enough numbers to satisfy you all to pay for both your politics and the family that you want. And most of you, well, half they're forecasting 45% of you women aren't getting married by your own choice, and that's fine. It's fine if you don't want to get married. That's fine. It's perfectly all right. But I got to imagine the rest of you who will get married, it's not going to be your dream marriage. It will not be your dream family. And if you think young kids back in the past and more modernly today have a lot of mental issues, I can't wait until they're raised under this a third, where 1/3 the parent is the man, 1/3 the parent is the mom, and 1/3 the parent is the government. I can't wait to see how those kids turn out. And I know, and that's why I brought up the politics. I know you're just not, because the politics are probably more important than the love and the family and the children, if I were to estimate it. And that's fine. I'm not even criticizing that. You can prioritize whatever you want in your life. I am merely, as an economist, coming in here and saying you can't have both, which I know goes against the perfect mental state. And I know that will not be heeded. And many of you will try to do it anyway. And when you try to be excellent at everything, you end up becoming good at nothing. So that's just my observation. I'm telling you, you have a choice. I know you're going to choose both with the consequences. But for any younger gals, I guess maybe if there's an audience of women I'm trying to reach out that might heed this, please make a choice. I'm not saying, by the way, this isn't a commercial or an advertisement for the Republican Party. I'm not saying go become a card-carrying Republican, vote Republican. I'm just saying you can't have a welfare state financed on disproportionately the back of men and expect the majority of men to also be able to afford their own families. So there you go. So link below, by the way, 2 books. Well, one's an essay. One is called Enjoy the Decline, Accepting Living with the Death of the United States. And another one is called Sanity is the Future of Wealth. And so if you guys are like, why do they keep voting for other people's family and not their own? Maybe get that book. Maybe everyone's freaking insane and have lost their goddamn minds. Go get those 2 books. And then, as always, if you have any questions, you can hire assholeconsulting.com. All right, let's go to the super chats, the super chats, the super chats. Let's go to the super chats and have ourselves a treat like Rooster Booster Light. Look at that. Stocked up on this stuff in Phoenix, man. Hat and Clogs, $5. Speaking of Phoenix, Arizona anyway. Hat and Clogs, $5. Glory to the state. All hail our robot dog overlords. Go get yourself an ice cream. Yep. It's been said a long time ago, women have married themselves to the state and abandoned men. That is obvious, especially if you happen to be within the Black community. I mean, that is painfully obvious. Who do Black women want to marry? Barack Obama. And for a while, for 8 years, they did. They kind of had him as a metaphorical husband. Darius, the plumber. Get the F out of here, Darius. Who the hell are you? You're not Obama. Oh my goodness. Paracelsus? Underact. 20 generous dollars. Thank you very much, Paracelsus. No program will work. The feminist indoctrination has already destroyed women's ability to consider having children. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I look at it after someone more intelligent or educated in neuroplasticity or neurology can tell me this, but can't teach a dog old tricks. At a certain point, you cannot take a human brain and convince them they're wrong. Like your old man was a Democrat at 40. He'll be a Democrat till he's dead. Women are feminists, or they don't need or I have it in mind. Well, and there's also a huge amount of investment. Think about all the young women who have invested and operated their lives based on the number one thing in life is their career and education, which is ultimately themselves. But let's just go with they worship a handbag. Like, you got to get the bag, which I guess handbags are expensive. You can't say, yeah, all that time to a 42-year-old woman. Like, look, I'm glad you made partner at the law firm, but all that time you spent, there was no value there because there's no other human being. You don't even have a family. You don't have kids that love you. You don't have a husband that loves you. And so therefore your entire life has been in vain. They will, a self-defense mechanism will kick in to prevent them from becoming so cripplingly depressed that they're like, no, he's around. I don't need no man. And they just double down on it. And so you have the true believers that, you're not going to get them. And what's worse for women, especially as it pertains to men, like, for example, if I pursued a career as a train conductor and I do that until I get my pension at, I don't know, 55, I cannot then go and rue the fact I didn't become a cop instead. All right. I understand. Okay. Maybe I would have liked to have been a cop more. Instead, I became a train conductor. But maybe even at the age of 50, I could go become a part-time deputy if I'm good enough shape. With women, the opportunity cost was a husband and children. And unfortunately for women for children, you could still have children at any time. Ladies, go do egg freezing. Absolutely. Go. You go, girl. But the husband and then any natural born children you have to get a husband first. Unfortunately, to attract a husband, you need youth and beauty, because that's what men want, which is not even factored into the calculus. I mean, they're so delusional. They're like trying to shame you to think, fat women are hot and women are beautiful at any. The delusion train is all aboard and going 300 miles an hour out towards that bridge that is out. Or the Wile E. Coyote, where it looks like there's a tunnel painted. It's just a cliff. But in other words, if a man doesn't misinvest, he invests in A, doesn't invest in B, maybe on the tail end he can invest a little bit in B. Women, you get one shot at family and kids, and that's as long as you're young and pretty. After that, it's over. It's over. And I know women aren't going to listen to that, but there's a huge and you don't get it. You can't go back in time and get a good-looking man and the husband in the ward. You can't have it. You can't. You chose career, education, social. You were married to the state, for lack of a better word. And so I could see, just for mental sanity, a kind of an autoimmune deficiency self-defense kicking in mentally, where it's like, no, this is the right thing. I didn't need no kids. I never wanted man. I don't need no man. And so you're not going to convince them otherwise. So what are they going to do? They're going to teach the same thing to future generations of young women who are going to invest in the same thing. And you know what? There's evidence. There is evidence. Again, I'm not against it either. There's evidence that women don't really want to get married and have kids. And what it is, if they cry about it or rue it, it's because it's classic opportunity cost. the next best, the price of the next best option they had. And so it's human nature to rue, oh, I really wanted chocolate, but I kind of also wanted strawberry. You have the chocolate ice cream. Man, I wish I wonder what the strawberry is like. So there's always that human nature of, it's not regret. It's just, oh man, I wonder what the curiosity. But looking at women's polling, men are 7th, children are 6th. Children come ahead of men. But they're not 1 or 2 anymore. And if polling data is correct and women are being honest with themselves, women really don't want men and children that much. They still want them. And if they get all the other stuff, then they want them. But you can't have, just like, well, if I'm a train conductor, I can't be a cop at the same time. So I don't know how they wrestle with that demon. I don't know if they let that demon bother them that much. I don't care. I'm not visiting women late at night in the deepest of closets as they're 3 bottles of wine in cry. I don't know if they cry themselves. I don't know. I don't care. The choice has already been made. But going forward, all I want to do is introduce the concept to young women. It's like, look, there's nothing wrong with having, being a stay-at-home wife. I would argue women are happier. We have Rachel, we have Allie, a real femme sapien. She just became a mother. I know a buddy of mine. They love having kids. They say this is what we're supposed to do. We were lied to. I go, okay, well, I'm not here to suss out propaganda. It's not men's responsibility to tell you girls it's a lie. And if we do, you tell us we're all patriarchy. Okay, fine. Have fun boarding the train. Make sure it goes really fast. At my age, it's like being on the 50-yard line, man. It's being front and center to this. Because this is where the train hits and just, it's like, make it slow motion. And God says, all right, we will, because time goes by slowly. But it's a fascinating sociological time we live in. Absolutely fascinating. And I always try to look for the bright side of things. You should be, I don't know, thankful but appreciative that we get to see what the first time in human history, as far as I know, maybe historians know better, where one sex decided they no longer needed the other, or they abandoned, and it was replaced by the government. It is fascinating what we get to watch now. It is. Are you fascinated by this? Isn't this better than any freaking movie Disney is coming out with? Like, wait, what are you gonna go see? The Black Unicorn? Well, what are you going to watch? What? What is it? Like Girl Boss and something else? This is more interesting. And we get to witness it. And as long as you play your cards right, you'll be, we're not going to starve. We'll be okay. Humanity is moving into stage 4 of behavioral sink. South Korea is furthest along at 0.78 birth rates. Right. I should probably listen to that, look at the sociological reasons for that. Like why the South Korean women just don't want to have kids. Alex Patino, a truck driving Latino agent in the field and successful father of a nuclear family, is the evolutionary built-in hardware. Men have been producers and women the consumers. Smiley face and poops maximum. Yes, and it is in our evolutionary hardware, but too bad. The rules have changed. Women have to now be producers. And maybe we could get by where, we tax and we print off money and we borrow money and we create, a disproportionate. There are women with real jobs, no doubt. But I'm sorry, ladies. I have to look at the numbers from the Department of Labor. But 2/3 of your jobs aren't real jobs. They could just be gone away. Nothing would happen. You don't really produce anything. But the time will come that will end because there won't be the money. There won't be enough food. There won't be enough electricity. And we're going to be like, hey, remember that World War II thing where you girls made weapons and armor and metals? Back to the factories, ladies. Back to the farm. Back to the farm. You get to plow the fields. I wanted to tell everybody else what to do with their money. I have a degree in journalism. Frank Manafo, our hiking agent in the field for $5. I don't know, with all the margaritas we buy, we can afford a child, honey. Bill Hicks. Okay, ladies, if you're worried about money, and men, if you're also worried about money, that comes with how much to afford a family, go get my book, Poor Richard's Retirement. I go through what a family in the 50s lived off of, and it is a fraction of the money that you spend today. Dirty little secret, you don't need a McMansion and you don't need your Range Rover, sweetheart. And if you really want a family, what would really help is not to bring $80,000 of debt to the table for your just the most worthless, laughably stupid, dumbass degree that has no value whatsoever. If you just don't bring debt to the table, like you're not right off the bat a financial liability to the guy. You could probably afford some kids and a family. But no, you had to go to Middlebury and imagine you were some intellectual hoity-toity to do with your degree in history. Alex Patino, truck driving Latino agent in the field again. I have managed to take care of my family in one income. Yes, you have. See, Alex, you think, you work. You've probably used the word no a couple times when your wife and kids said, Dad, can I? And you said, no. My wife does not work next year when the youngest starts school. Maybe she'll work. Well, maybe she just takes care of the home or keeps her body in shape. Heaven forbid the women now satisfy the man after the kids are gone. I hear living the dream. You're doing good. Big Animations, 275.79 Canadian. This millennial Tanner don't want to be no mo. You don't have to be Tanner. It's choices. Like just so you know, I know the Democrats have painted it differently. If you're born with a hoo-ha, you're going to be forever a slave to the patriarchy. If you're black or Hispanic or anything else not white, you are forever going to be enslaved to the white man. And there's no reason for it. But dirty little secret, it has nothing to do with when you were born, how you were born, what gender you were born with. It's all choices. And that's why we have the honorary Gen Xer process. Like if you're from the millennial or Zoomer generation or even the Boomer generation, you can apply. You say, Cappy, I have my own job. I pay my own rent. I don't have any student loan debts and but I was born in 1997. If you come up to me and apply and you show me that you are basically a self-supporting man or woman, I will make you an honorary member of Gen X. It's all fancy. I got a scroll. I put on my Gen X hat. It's all and then you're no longer a millennial. You are not defined by your age, Biggs Animations. You are not defined by the traits you were born with. You are defined here on Meritocracy by your actions. Wandering Warrior, $5. Mommy's all right. Daddy's all right. They just seem a little bit weird. Surrender. Cheap Trick warned us, Gen X Cappy. Yep. Project Gone, $5. Couldn't watch you and Elkins live yesterday. My mid-watch right now. Don't fear high LDL. Recommend Rich Cooper's interview with Dranthony J. Lots of good data. Yeah, I don't let it keep me up at night, but Cappy's just gonna. It's also good for my abs. I want to get abs, even though it was cheat day yesterday. I wanna get abs, and it's just like, okay, we got to give up the fat. We got to give up. It's chicken and fish and veggies. That's all it's gonna be. Narash, 2 British pounds. You guys in America take too many meds. Kids are messed up. Yeah, because their parents don't love them. That's basically. Here it is. Psychologist Cappy. Parents don't love their kids more than themselves. Some parents just don't love their kids at all. And when you outsource your kids to daycare in the public schools and you marry for the wrong reasons, so now mom and dad are agitated at each other, yeah, your kids are going to pick up. And then you get divorced and now you had a broken home. Yes, kids might be messed up. Yep. Sending your kids to daycare is neglect. Getting divorced is abuse. If you don't like that, go find a tree and fucking shove it up your ass. You're a bad parent. Period. End of discussion. No, I'm not. Hey. I don't care. You can ignore reality all you want. Daycare, neglectful parent. Divorce, abuse. Bad equals bad parent. Bye-bye. Stan the Milkman, $5 Australian. I just dragged to a nightclub. Guys, come on, proper grammar here, all right? If you're going to give me the money, give me the proper grammar. I just dragged to a nightclub by some chick. I got dragged to, we speak the same language, don't we, if you're in Oz? All hot and heavy, then just left. I've had that happen. A girl like, let's go out, then just gone. Absolutely. How old are you? 20, 21? Then just left. Fucking hell. I'm tired of I'm going home. Buddy, it doesn't change. It doesn't change. She found her friends or something else. What are you going to a nightclub for nowadays, man? That's just the cathedral where you worship women and you put your money there and you get nothing in exchange. What are you going to a nightclub for? Super Pilotish, please check into his podcast, 550 Canadian, but Cappy, with all those single ladies with their masters of social work, shouldn't the street pooping and underbridged lifestyles be ending soon? Super Pilotish, you nailed it on the head. If I'm to believe that the social sciences have any veracity, including economics, by the way, if I believe that they have any veracity, they should have solved these problems long ago. And when you factor in, we've spent over 30 trillion US dollars adjusting for inflation, plus or minus, depending, $30 trillion on the poor and and we got more of it. I don't care. That's why I don't believe college studies. Well, a research study came out. Is it the social sciences? Okay, it's wrong. It's just wrong. And same thing with the psychology profession. You're not professionals. You're wrong. How many, a couple hundred years now, depending how far you want to go back with psychology, we got more mentally ill. Mental illness is not decreasing. It's going up. The psychology profession has failed. You are not a science. If you had this figured out, we would have other metrics. We'd have the opposite metrics. I don't believe in any psychology studies. I don't believe in what the American APA, American Psychological Association, says. I don't believe in DSM-5. There may be some legitimate, authentic things they've discovered, medically speaking, but on the whole, you all failed. You're all frauds. You're all shysters. Knock it off. And so, yeah, I mean, you might as well have a master's in astrology, whether it's social work or psychology. It might as well be astrology. It might as well be tarot card reading. You guys don't know what you're doing. Professor Spud, $5. Suicide rates among women in the 40s and 50s dropped sharply in 2020 with the disease. Something really, really sick about this. Thanks. It dropped? Hang on. All right, from 20, here it is. Among females, the rate declined by 8%. From 6.0 to 5.5 per 100,000. Okay, so the problem, I mean, that's good that it decreased, but it's not that significant. Well, I guess it's okay. It went from 6.0 to 5.5 per 100,000. That's a little more than a rounding error, but it isn't like it was halved. Okay, it decreased. All right. I'm glad. I'm happy. Jenkins, Tree Fitty. Imagine a compilation album with all of your songs. Oh, it'd be a horrible album. It'd be horrible. There's a turd in the punch bowl. Yes, there is. There's a turd in the punch bowl. More dread, $8 Australian. If all society needs to bend the rules for you to win, then by definition, you are a loser. Absolutely. Absolutely. All that money and they end up on the OnlyFriends. Oh my God, don't get me started. With all the legs up and the hand-me-outs and the affirmative action, and you're still only coming in at 88% of what men make. And even then, and more dread. Now, of course, these are older women. Okay, so maybe the younger women of today they'll be more financially prepared. I still don't know. And it's a rare instance that a woman just doesn't need some kind of bailout. They might have some money, but and it's not that, I'm not even saying that they're parasitic, But most of the gals I know, they're still working past retirement age because they have to. There's always someone that has to come in, and whether it's like an inheritance from, that's a very common one. Mom and dad pass away. There's an inheritance. They get married late stage to a guy who's wealthy. They got to keep on working. The money isn't there. They don't. It's like, look, well, hang on. You're boomer women. You were all on this, and you got 2 divorce settlements. When are you throwing in the S&P 500? Where's the money? Yeah, but you're talking OnlyFriends. That's the younger generation. You're right. Like, come on. You have a master's degree. Come on. What I love about OnlyFriends is it tells you the true nature of economics, the undeniable nature of economics. Men will pay for sex. It's always been youth and beauty for resources. That's it. Paracelsus on Dirac, $5, making $60K a year, 62% expenses, 38% savings and investment, $1,870 a year dividends, living in a 2-bedroom apartment, saving for a house, all within the last 3 years. Bravo. Bravo. But Paracelsus, you only make $60,000 a year. Oh, I need 6 figures. Oh, Paracelsus, are you under 6 feet tall? Oh, and you vote conservative? Ew. Not ew. Boo. There's a turd in the punch bowl. There's going to be, I hope, when I'm older, that the internet, not to mention generations of men get divided, I hope the internet has a generation of guys like you, or Nuclear Cadillo. Look up Nuclear, Caudillo, Nuclear Cadillo. Young black dude. He was a nuke in the Navy. Now he's out doing it. I hope to see a generation of you young men that by the time you're my age, you're not 50, where 30 years of your life was wasted chasing women, chasing socialism. What else? Being mentally tortured because you were given the wrong information. I hope to see a generation of young men by the time you're my age that you guys like, no, man, like we tried and there were some girls and I did ask out, but I invested in myself and then I went fishing and it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I made the best of my life and I bought a house. It's a modest home, nothing fancy. I learned how to fix my own cars. I traveled the world and had different food. I got some interesting hobbies. And yeah, man, it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't. I don't have the wife with the picket fence and the kids or anything. But I got my Iron dog. I got my Welsh Corgi there, and I did some things and some stuff. And it was a pretty good life. And we went through nowhere near the mental torture and insanity you did. And we had a better life. And I'm better financially. I'm more financially stable. I didn't get in no trouble. I just, a bunch of guys going fishing, having a good old time. Just reading books, chilling out, doing their thing. I'd like to see that. That'd be nice. All right. Is that it? That's it. All right. Cappy's got to go pick up some statins because Cappy is an old boomer F. And there'll be more A-hole consulting down the road. A lot of Aussies out there. Thanks for joining us, guys. And links below to some books that might help you. Oh, also, the minimalism course is going to be opening up here probably in the next week. Probably from the 25th to the 30th. So keep an eye open for that. If you did subscribe to my Teachable school, it's called the Clary School of Economic Philosophy. So you could sign up for that and then you can enroll in courses if you'd like. That's about it. See you guys later. Toodles.